Okay, this is my audience. Yay. When I think of Palestine, I think of my family, olive trees, the scent of olive oil soap, the salty, infamous Nablusi cheese. My first trip to Palestine was as a child, and it left impressions that have stayed with me, particularly the warmth of the people and their welcoming spirit. We stayed in my family's home that my great grandfather built in Nablus, now known as the West Bank, where my dad and his mother were born. I remember waking up early and walking into town to go pick up fresh falafel and knafe. We'd bring everything back and enjoy breakfast outside by the fountain in the garden. With fresh fruit and tea brewed, we ate dessert first and shared stories about the family. As we ate together, I felt a strong sense of belonging to the people and to the land. The hills are covered with olive trees that made me feel at home. Despite the many challenges they face daily, people of Palestine are incredibly resilient and positive. I'd like to offer you a glimpse into the history of Palestine and share my perspective on this land that is rich in its vibrant culture and remarkable strength. First, I would like to show you something that I bought to remind me of Palestine. It is a mug that has a symbol of displacement for the Palestinian people named Hantala, the map of Palestine, Palestine in Arabic, and then olives, which are very, very important to me, or olive trees. Okay. This subject is important to me because I feel a strong connection to Palestine as it is part of my heritage. I have been there twice and have learned many things about the culture and want to know more about the history. So I'm currently taking a class called Palestinian Literature and Culture. I hope that by sharing a little bit of the background on Palestine, I can give you an idea of the history and context of a region that is often mentioned today and mostly misinterpreted or misunderstood. I'll be covering key historical milestones and cultural aspects of Palestine, providing context for what life there was and is for the indigenous people. Now let's take a look at the history and roots of Palestine. The origins and history regarding the last 100 years of Palestine and its people were not the same as what it's like today. Palestine is in the eastern Mediterranean and has been largely replaced by modern-day Israel. It borders Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. It was used to be known as the Levant region, and it's populated by Muslims, Jews, and Christians, as all of their religions are connected to the Holy Land and Jerusalem. The United Nations official website explains how the sacred land drew the attention of many empires such as the Assyrians, Babylonians, Greeks, Romans, and Ottoman Empire. Archaeological findings from Palestine tell us more about its diverse history. For example, art excavations that were written about in the Penn Museum website include the Negev Desert led by Nelson Glueck. He uncovered evidence of trade routes that were connected to ancient Egypt. Other discoveries highlighted in this article were ancient pottery and tools that showed well-developed societies that existed there throughout the history. These findings were supported by old scriptures that describe Palestine as being a rich land with culture, religion, and craftsmanship. As we move further along in history, we start to see a significant change in politics. With the defeat of the Ottoman Empire during World War I, Great Britain replaced Ottoman rule over Palestine. The British government issued the Balfour Declaration in 1917, announcing its support for the establishment for a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. Massive immigration by Jews from Europe began after that and played into the escalation of the partition of Palestine by the United Nations. On November 29, 1947, as stated by Office Historian Government website. The British mandate led to the separation of Arab and Jewish state that was rejected by both sides. As waves of immigrants moved to Palestine, tensions began to rise between the Arab and Jewish people. The Human Rights Watch states that after 1947, the UN suggested a partition plan of Palestine into two states, and Jerusalem was to be administered internationally. The Arabs rejected this plan as it was taking more than 50% of their homeland and handing it over to new immigrants. This partition gave them two areas that were not even connected to each other. On the other hand, the majority of Jewish communities went along with this partition as it was favorable to them. Resistance to the occupation by the British Mandate helped to give birth to Palestinian nationalism. People rose up for the Palestinian cause and organized resistance to British occupation, which united the people around a shared cause and identity. In my Palestine class, we read a lot of literature from this period as this resistance to occupation and spark of nationalism led to many emotional resistance stories, music, and art that shared and reflected the collective experience of loss, betrayal, and struggle for freedom. On May 14, 1948, the day on which the British rule of Palestine ended, the Jewish immigrants and militia declared the foundation of the State of Israel. The Jewish population exponentially changed from 56,000 in 1918 to 608,000 by 1946, according to the United Nations website. With this foundation, we can move on to the more recent history and establishments of Israel. The establishment of Israel impacted the Palestinians and caused death, displacement, and loss of identity. The Arab-Israeli War caused a lot of violence and displacement. The Human Rights Watch estimated that around 700,000 Palestinians were forced to flee their homes. This is now what we refer to as the Nakba, which is a mass displacement and exodus that still affects Palestinians to this day. Many of these refugees ended up in the Gaza Strip. The effects of the war led to the refugee camps that are still a growing issue today. Palestinians locked their doors when they were expelled or fled, taking a key with them in hopes of returning soon. These keys are now passed down from generation to generation as a constant reminder of hope and their right to return. Today, Palestinians who remained in the West Bank face significant restrictions and an apartheid system. As stated by the United Nations Human Rights Organization, the original United Nations doesn't exist anymore, and Israel has built around 300 illegal settlements and outposts on Palestinian territory. There are two territories of Palestine today, the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. The apartheid system imposed by the Israeli government prevents them from access to resources, strict regulation of movement, and limited rights. According to the Human Rights Watch, Israel restricts all travel between Gaza and the West Bank, despite its having recognized the two to be a part of a single unit. These restrictions make it difficult for Palestinians to travel to visit family, receive health treatment, because even if they are able to leave, they may not be allowed back. This division, as well as the policies limiting their autonomy, has led the ongoing struggle for their homeland, equal rights, and national recognition. The hardships of military occupation and displacement while struggling for freedom in the face of systemic inequality plays a large part in shaping the modern Palestinian identity. Our homeland is a source of pride and a testament to the resilience of people bound by heritage and shared struggles of displacement, with constant degradation of life under brutal military occupation. Today, we have looked at the roots of Palestine from its origins, formation of Israel, and emergence of a national identity under British and Israeli occupation. These events have shaped Palestinian life and identity today. Each chapter shows how deeply the Palestinian people are connected to their land, culture, and community. I hope that these stories and summary of events have helped you better understand Palestine's rich cultural heritage, as well as the resilience of the people that are still living under military occupation in the West Bank and facing genocide in Gaza today. Like the olive trees that line the hills of our land, Palestine remains rooted, resilient, and a testament to the people's endurance, love, and community, and a common identity. Thank you. Yay. Okay, last pan. Okay, I can stop recording and pause recording.